Chapter 7. Time to Ponder. A few days had passed since Celestia and Luna had returned. Cadence had gone back to the Crystal Empire on the same day, but promised to return for a certain event coming up. For the most part, Celestia and Luna accepted Wasp and Zeri. However, they were understandably concerned. Celestia more so than Luna, considering Luna hadn't been there during the invasion of Canterlot. It didn't take long for Celestia's mother side to take hold, as she realized they were young, seeking to comfort them as they felt slightly frightened of both princesses, running and hiding behind my legs. Over these few days, they've become a bit used to the princesses. They never left my side, and anytime I went somewhere they followed. Of course, they let me have alone time and respected my privacy, but for the majority of my days, they were always there, either clinging to my shoulders or close by, side by side. It was nice having them around. They were good company. At that moment in time, I was sitting in the Canterlot Gardens under the shade of a parasol. A small table to my side as I relaxed in the sunbed I had brought out from the pool area. On the table beside me sat a bottle of cola, one of the books detailing the Cult of the Rings, and a pair of sunglasses. I looked over to see Wasp and Zeri lying almost unconscious while breathing heavily, their bodies wet after having water thrown over them. I tried to warn them to stay out of the sun on a warm day like that, but they didn't listen. And they paid the price for it. I sighed as I took a sip of my drink, thankful that the ponies had such a drink in the first place. I had been delving more and more into the cult and order, especially things involving Vector Lulamoon. So far, I wasn't able to find out anything noteworthy other than a few marked locations on a map inside one of the books, revealing the locations of some of the cult's temples. Other than that, there wasn't much else to learn from the book I was reading. It was time to move on to another. If the library even contained another book with information on the two groups, that is. I figured Celestia and Luna would know, so I planned to ask them at a more appropriate time whenever they weren't busy. It was likely I'd have to start searching for those hidden journals soon if I wanted to continue researching these guys, but that could wait. At that moment, I was focused on something else. That pocket watch that Luna had under her wing. When I asked her what she had hidden, she refused to tell me and told me to wait and see. It wouldn't have been that big a deal, since I knew she was probably saving it for later that week. My birthday was coming up, and both Celestia and Luna wanted to celebrate it. I had no real reason to, considering the day was also the birthday of my deceased twin sister. It only really served as a reminder of the times we shared. However, the princesses were determined to make sure I enjoyed myself. So they began making preparations for a small gathering to celebrate that day of my birth. I told her to keep it to only ponies I knew, although that will involve nearly all the castle staff, including the guards. To make sure the castle was still secure, Celestia had planned a schedule for the guards. Half of them would attend the party at one time, while the others patrolled the castle. Halfway through the party, they would all switch. That was all I knew about the preparations. But to be honest, I'm grateful that I didn't know anything else. Not because it would ruin the surprise, but because it would distract me from thinking about something else. And that something was the watch. For some reason, when I saw it, something felt off. I didn't know why. All I knew was that when I caught sight of it, my heart stopped for a very brief moment. Something wasn't right with it, but I'd have to wait until I actually received it to know. It's not like Luna would have brought me some cursed object or anything. She's smarter than that, and she can sense those types of things with her magic. So, that was definitely off the table. I was starting to realize that my peaceful life in Canterlot was slowly changing. I knew that in this type of world the peace wouldn't last, but I never expected it to change in the way it did. Researching cults, taking care of two changelings, feelings of insecurity, among other things that would come into play at a later date. I knew that it wouldn't be long before something happened that would bring an end to the peace, given this world's connection to cliches. So, I was intent on enjoying it for as long as I could. So, relaxed in my chair once more, took a large sip of my cola and closed my eyes, sighing as I began to take my mind off of those types of things. However, I got that feeling of being watched, so I immediately turned to Wasp and Zeri, who were still cooling off under the shade. The feeling began to change. It still felt like I was being watched, but it felt far more intrusive and personal. I looked around trying to find whoever it was. My sights fell on a dark shaded area in the trees, where I spotted what I could only make out as a humanoid silhouette standing out in the shadows. I saw its eyes glow red for a moment before it slipped into the shade and disappeared. I just sat there staring, both confused and disturbed. Just who was that? Why were they shaped like a human? Why were they spying on me? These were only a few of the questions I was asking, and none of those questions had a pleasant answer.